There are lots of different ways to make design pages shout. These are a few I covered in my previous video. I darkened the lower edges of the shapes I wanted to stand out with a heavier line. I added 3 tones of marker pen to give shape, light, medium and dark. I left a white gap between the light and medium surfaces to suggest we're looking at a reflective material. I added shadows cast by my shapes to anchor them to the page. I added detail, in this case assigning materials to the pencils and pens, and added shadows behind them. And finally I added parallel lines to my surfaces to further suggest a reflective material such as plastic. It's worth noting too that I was working with an imaginary light source that remained in the same position throughout. Just as important as any of these practical measures, and arguably more important, the aspect of your design work that will make it shout the loudest is its content. By content, I don't mean clever use of marker pens, but the imagination, the problem solving and the creativity shown in the work contained within. We're recording our ideas as they happen, we're not waiting until they've formed in our heads. There's a subtle difference, but it's a very important one. If I can record my creativity in real time on the paper in front of me, then my design work will start to shout. I'm using marker pens to help me make sense of shape and form, and also materials and finishes. An added benefit of this approach is that it also makes my design work, and therefore my thoughts, more easily understood by a third party. The process of using marker pens is slightly slower than sketching with a traditional pen. Combining both techniques allows me a few moments to consider which direction to head with the next iteration of my design as I'm working. When designing, there's often a pressure to perform, a pressure to produce striking, eye-catching and attention-grabbing design work. We can feel that our design pages are less worthy and less valuable than the work of others that might have a greater visual impact than our own. Design pages don't necessarily shout when they make a visual impact. They can look incredible whilst being void of good design work. In other words, under closer scrutiny, they might be lacking in creativity. A big step towards making our design pages shout is by freeing ourselves from external pressures to produce artwork. When focusing our energies on producing beautiful pages, we run low on resources left for idea generation. The job of the designer is to generate ideas above everything else. On the journey to becoming an accomplished designer, we're building a bank of communication skills. These include sketching in 2D, sketching in 3D and perspective, using construction lines, working with a light source, representing cast shadows, working with line weight, adding annotation, and other skills besides. Becoming proficient with each of these communication skills is important. By using them in conjunction with each other, our design work will start to gather weight. Adding the use of marker pen to our library of communication skills will add another layer of information to our work and give it further impact. We'll know this is happening when we're working in real time with the client, and he or she is able to understand our thoughts as we're committing them to paper. We might want to give a completed page of design ideas a final punch. Here I'm simply adding a background, in this case with a contrasting and bright colour. This makes my sketches jump out from the background. and this is further helped by the addition of a shadow running along the side and base of each shape. In this example, I'm using a background colour much closer to that I've used on the shapes themselves. Again, the shadow breaks the objects away from the background. Photocopying or scanning and printing our original design pages allows us to experiment with a range of backgrounds and can help us see what makes our work shout the loudest. I hope you found this video helpful. If you have, please hit the like button and subscribe for more. Remember to select the notifications tab to be the first to hear of my next video. You can find lots of downloadable resources on my website at www.productdesignermaker.com and have a look at what's going on behind the scenes at Product Designer Maker on Instagram, and I'll try my best to answer any comments you make below. Thanks for watching.